Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. The Warriors want and need to improve their defense, and one player who could help a lot is Ben Simmons. It would be a good and effective signing. Even though Ben Simmons has had some bad seasons lately, he can improve his game again playing alongside Stephen Curry. The Golden State Warriors remain the only NBA team that has not added a veteran free agent this offseason. As it currently stands, the Warriors only have 9 players under contract as they continue to wait for disgruntled restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga. While their free agent options have shrunk, there are still big names out there who are left unsigned. One of them is former number 1 pick Ben Simmons, whom Bleacher Report's salary cap expert Eric Pincus views as an interesting fit with the Warriors. It's hard to believe, but Simmons is a year removed from a max contract. Last year, he was let go by the Brooklyn Nets to sign with the Clippers for the end-of-season playoff run. He played 18 games for the Clippers, averaging 2.9 points and 3.1 assists per game in 16.4 minutes. Those numbers dipped in the playoffs, as his time was cut almost in half. And now that LA has added John Collins and Chris Paul, Simmons doesn't seem likely to return. The Golden State Warriors could be an interesting fit for Simmons in a reserve Draymond Green-like role. Simmons' fall from grace is a fascinating story. The 6'10" three-time All-Star has fallen off the cliff since he left Philadelphia over mental health and mysterious back issues. His once promising career went south in Brooklyn. Last season, he averaged 6.2 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 6.9 assists in his final 33 games in Brooklyn. He only played 17 games for the Clippers and was an afterthought, averaging career lows 2.9 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 3.1 assists. While Simmons has the size and the playmaking chops that could help the Warriors, his lack of an outside shot makes him a clunky fit unless they surround him with shooters. According to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, Simmons is expected to be a minimum contract player after the lackluster final 2 seasons of his previous maximum contract. As for Simmons, he is expected to be a minimum contract player during the 2025-26 season. Throughout his career, the former first overall pick has thrived in systems where there are viable, reliable shooters around him. After being a rumored Warriors target in the past, Simmons could give Golden State everything they need in terms of height, rebounding, and playmaking outside of Steph, Siegel wrote on July 12. Backcourt defense a priority. Golden State General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. revealed what the Warriors have been looking for this offseason. "I think we learned a lot about the team this past year, especially since we've added Jimmy Butler," Dunleavy told ESPN's Katie George during halftime of the Warriors' NBA Summer League opener in Las Vegas on July 11. "We feel like we have a group going forward that's going to be pretty good. What do we need to add? I think from that standpoint, we want to look to the frontcourt to add some shooting, in the backcourt some defense. Offensively, guys that can shoot, pass, and dribble. There's tons of needs, but I think we've zeroed in on some areas that we can address. As the summer unfolds, we'll continue to try and do that." A 2-time all-defensive first team, Simmons can shore up the Warriors' backcourt defense. But first, they have to settle the unresolved Kuminga situation that is putting their offseason on hold. Warriors could get the ideal Jonathan Kuminga replacement from flailing rival. This could be intriguing. As the Golden State Warriors look toward constructing their roster for contention, trading restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga, either this offseason or sometime around the next trade deadline, remains a real possibility. Yet, if the Warriors were to move on from Kuminga, they would likely need some help in the frontcourt, and Sam Hauser of the Boston Celtics, a likely trade candidate, could fill that exact need. Hauser, 27, is likely to be traded as a result of Boston's efforts to duck the luxury tax next season, and, as a career sharpshooter and frontcourt specialist, could provide a serious boon to Golden State's rotation were they to move on from Kuminga. Sam Hauser could give the Warriors an extra shooter in the frontcourt. Through 4 seasons with the Celtics, Hauser has become an important player in their rotation, averaging 21.7 minutes per game last season while posting 8.5 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 0.9 assists. Moreover, the 6 feet 8 inches forward shot 41.6% from beyond the arc last season on high volume, shifting his career mark to an astounding 42%. Yet, as Boston prepares for a down year following the devastating Achilles injury to Jason Tatum in last year's playoffs, it appears as though Hauser could be the next to be moved. According to Chris Maddox, speaking to NBC Sports Boston, trading Sam Hauser, right now, is the easiest way for the Celtics to get under that first apron, and he's a very marketable guy, a 40+% three-point shooter who's shown that he can play at a championship level. Hauser, who is entering his first year of a 4-year, $45 million deal, is also a relatively cheap option for the services he provides. By the end of his contract, at the conclusion of the 2028-29 season, his salary will make up only 6% of the cap, a suitable number for a bench specialist. Moreover, a large part of the reason behind Kuminga's misalignment with the Warriors' starting lineup is his lack of a perimeter shot, something that would not present an issue with Hauser. As Mannix points out, Hauser is accustomed to a bench role on a championship-caliber team, and he knows exactly what needs to be done on his end to supplement the team's stars. Therefore, although it would likely be a result of a shocking Kuminga trade this offseason, Golden State certainly has options available to them to replace their own dynamic young forward. Warriors could be set for disaster yet again with brutal final stretch of season. This could be bad. As the Golden State Warriors attempt to contend yet again in the Western Conference, it could prove extremely difficult to force their way into the top 6 in order to secure a bona fide playoff spot. With their brutal defeat to the Los Angeles Clippers in their last game of the regular season, the Warriors were stuck in the play-in despite their excellent stretch of play to close out their campaign, and now the team must yet again face a brutal stretch of matchups to finish off their 2025-26 season. In addition to matchups against the Cleveland Cavaliers, Houston Rockets, and Los Angeles Lakers, Golden State must yet again face off against the Clippers in their final game of the regular season, a troubling sign that old demons could come back to haunt them. Warriors are slated for a rough final stretch of the regular season. After months in which the Warriors were mired in mediocrity and sat largely on the fringe of the play-in last season, their acquisition of Jimmy Butler turned things around entirely. Yet, despite their 23-8 hot streak following his arrival to the team, brutal losses to both the Clippers and the San Antonio Spurs in the final week of the season caused them to fall into the play-in, an outcome which resulted in a brutal first-round matchup against the 2-seed Houston Rockets. Although the Warriors won that series, the physical Rockets wore down their stars over the course of 7 games, resulting in their eventual demise at the hands of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, as they enter the same gauntlet yet again, those final games of the regular season could be more meaningful than ever. Last season, the Warriors went 1-3 against the Lakers, 0-4 against the Clippers and 0-2 against the Cavaliers, signaling that the final 6 games of the 2025-26 season will yet again be a tough stretch for the team. However, there are still 2 saving graces. The first is that Golden State will not need to travel outside of California for any of their games in April, meaning that they will get some much-needed rest before a possible playoff run. Secondly, 2 of their last 6 games are against the Sacramento Kings, who look to be even more disjointed this season from a standpoint of roster construction and held a record of 2-2 against the Warriors last season. Nevertheless, as fans look ahead and speculate about the tougher or easier stretches of next season, it is difficult not to be concerned about what could happen if Golden State has not secured their playoff seeding before this final stretch. Warriors' LeBron James pipe dream somehow keeps getting more real. 2026 could be the year it finally happens. Throughout superstar Stephen Curry's career, the Golden State Warriors have attempted to surround him with as much talent as necessary to compete, or even dominate, their opponents. Now, as the organization closes in on what could possibly be the end of Curry's career, rumors swirling around a longtime rival, LeBron James, could make it a real possibility that he joins the team as an unrestricted free agent next offseason. Such a union of 2 of the iconic players of our generation would not only be a massive publicity move, it would also grant the 2 veterans one final shot at winning a title, something that James and Curry clearly long for. LeBron James wants to compete past 2026, and the Warriors could give him a shot. As ESPN analyst Bobby Marks purveyed the most significant free agents next offseason in his recent piece, it was obvious that James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, should be at the top of the list. Following the Los Angeles Lakers' blockbuster acquisition of Luka Doncic, James' camp has expressed a dissatisfaction with the way in which the organization has begun putting all of their chips on Doncic. While rumors swirled that a potential trade could be in order, it is more likely that James, if he decides to play a 24th season, will wait and find a new team in free agency. The Lakers, simultaneously, seem as though they will be wanting to move on from James after this season. According to Marks, while there are many uncertainties surrounding James' situation, the only guarantee is James will be an unrestricted free agent next summer, and if he does play an unprecedented 24th season, it will likely be with a team that can win a championship. Naturally, if James were to push his body for another season, there would need to be some potential of a reward at the end of it. While it remains a serious rumor that he could return to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where it all began for James, his longtime friendship and respect for Curry could entice him to give it one last shot. He would be able to stay on the West Coast, and Golden State would likely shell out as much money as possible in order to give James a farewell tour with a home base in the Bay Area. While much of James' future remains shrouded in hazy uncertainties and speculation, he will almost certainly be available next offseason, and the Warriors should be considered among the top contenders for his services. An unlikely team could be the Warriors' downfall in the Jonathan Kuminga disaster. This could be the eventual worst-case scenario. As the Golden State Warriors have attempted to find common ground with restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga this offseason, the two sides have come to an impasse regarding which party will have more leverage in a potential two-year deal. What Kuminga's side retains, however, is the threat of taking his qualifying offer and hitting unrestricted free agency next offseason, which would allow a team such as the Charlotte Hornets, who will have significant cap space, to create a disastrous scenario for the Warriors. Although, at this point, it is extremely likely that the organization will end up moving Kuminga at some point, they would obviously like to get some sort of value in return for their prime asset. However, a team like the Hornets can make all of that impossible next offseason if this catastrophe continues. The Charlotte Hornets could poach Kuminga next offseason. The Warriors and Kuminga have, somewhat surprisingly, arrived on a tentative agreement for a short-term, tradable deal that would allow the young forward to prove his value in the Bay before likely being shipped off to a new destination with more runway. Yet, the two parties' impasse has come through their disagreement on whether there will be a team or a player option after the first year of the contract. The unfortunate reality for Golden State is that Kuminga has the leverage in this situation. If he were to accept the Warriors' $7.9 million qualifying offer, thereby taking on a temporarily lower salary in order to guarantee himself an open market next offseason, they could lose their most tradable asset for absolutely nothing. This threat is intensified by teams such as the Hornets, who may not be willing to take a swing on a restricted free agent this offseason but could certainly threaten the Warriors next offseason. According to ESPN, Charlotte is among 9 teams they project to have significant cap space next offseason. With a developing core of LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Tijane Salon and Con Newpel, the team could certainly bring in Kuminga at a value closer to the $30 million he envisions while granting him the runway to realize his full potential. Not only is this concerning as a pure hypothetical for the Warriors, but Kuminga certainly could also look ahead at what his options could be next offseason and opt to keep the organization in a chokehold through his qualifying offer. Therefore, Golden State is stuck in an unfortunate position. Do they acquiesce to Kuminga's demands or do they take the risk of an absolute disaster scenario next offseason?